Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with another video, which I am simply calling Mall Movies. I think we can all probably agree that the setting is a very important part of a movie or TV show. And for me, some of my favorite settings are malls. I just love when movies and TV episodes take place in malls. I don't really know why. I enjoy seeing the different stores in the malls in the background, and I like seeing the way people interact in the mall. I don't know what it is. Maybe malls are just relatable. We all have malls. We've all been to the mall. And I just love seeing them, as the main setting for certain movies and shows. Even if the movie isn't so great or the TV episode isn't the best, it'll usually stand out to me if it took place in a mall. So in this video, in addition to scenes from a mall, I have 25 more titles I'll be discussing that all take place in, you guessed it, some sort of shopping center. So I want to start by saying that I know there's plenty more movies and shows that take place in malls, and plenty more that I actually own in my collection. But I instead just chose to include 25 because if not, the video would have been way too long. And with that being said, I'm also not going to discuss all of these movies and shows that I'm showing. I'll just make a few comments about each one. I'm going to start with some non-horror titles first, and then get to the horror stack in a bit. But first up is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, and it is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now, if you've seen this movie, which I'm sure you have, you know that while most of it does take place at Ridgemont High itself, a lot of it also takes place at the local mall where some of the characters work and most of the characters hang out. So I had to include it here, and again, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Next up, I have Mannequin and Mannequin 2. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that these movies and shows, all have in common that the setting takes place in some sort of shopping center. So while this isn't necessarily a mall per se, it does take place in a department store, and it's one of my favorite 80s comedies. I used to watch this movie a lot, especially the first one I'm talking about, and just felt like I needed to include it because it really fit the theme. Next up, we have an obvious choice in Mallrats, one of my absolute favorite Kevin Smith films. Hilarious movie. That kid is on the escalator again. And we also have Walk Like a Man. Now, this movie doesn't get talked about a lot. This has a scene at the end where Howie Mandel's character, who was raised by wolves, long story short, he's in a mall, and he's in a toy store. I know there's a Teddy Ruxpin or something in there, and he's also playing with this slime, this green slime in his hand, and he sneezes, and this older lady walks, is walking by, and she turns around and sees him after he sneezes, and he has the slime just kind of oozing in his fingers, and she kind of gives him a dirty look, thinking that it, came out of his nose, obviously. And I always thought it was kind of a funny bit in the movie, and I always enjoyed this movie. It also stars Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2, so that's pretty cool as well. Next up, we have a movie that I'm surprised hasn't gotten an official US DVD release, and it'll probably pop up in one of my rare movies not on DVD or Blu-ray videos at some point, but I'm talking about North, starring Elijah Wood and Bruce Willis, Jason Alexander, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, we got Dan Aykroyd in here, Reba McEntire, just a lot of big names in this one. And part of the movie does take place in the mall. It's kind of where the movie starts and ends, and I don't want to give too much away. I know this movie's old, but I don't really like to give away spoilers in my videos, as you guys know by now. But yeah, I wanted to include it here. Just one of my favorite underrated movies, I'd say, from the 90s. Next is one of my absolute favorite movies, another one, Kenny and Company. And I'm including this one because this movie has a scene in a really creepy looking toy store. I don't know what it is about the toy store that makes it creepy. There's just something about it that I've always loved. I remember watching this movie as a kid and just being obsessed with this toy store, wanting to know where it was, which toy store it was, and I just absolutely love it. If you've seen this movie, or if you haven't seen the movie but you have it, please check it out, because you just got to watch that scene and tell me if it's creepy to you as well. And again, not creepy in a I'm scared kind of way, but there's just something unsettling about the toy store, and to me it's actually comforting now. There's just something about it that I just absolutely love. And again, one of my favorite movies of all time. easily in my top 5. Absolutely love this movie. Next is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, which you guys, may still laugh at, but I've mentioned it in the past, and it is Dawson's Creek. I grew up with the show. I won't say a lot about it because I'm sure, on a horror page, there's not necessarily a lot of fans, even though there should be because this is an awesome show. But I'm including it here because there's an episode right here in the sixth season where Pacey and Joey are actually locked in a Kmart. They're in a kind of a super Kmart, a big Kmart store. They're locked in overnight. It's an absolutely awesome episode, one of the best in the series. I just love it so much. It was filmed in an actual Kmart store, so it wasn't a set or anything like that. It's just really cool to see. The entire episode is in Kmart and the things they do. They go to the electronics section and they watch a movie on all the TVs. They're eating nachos and popcorn from the snack bar section. They're wearing pajamas. They're sleeping in the tents in the outdoor sporting goods section. It's just such a fun episode, and it's definitely one that I revisit a lot more than other episodes. Next, we got some Christmas movies, because what Christmas movie doesn't take place at some point in a mall? And the Christmas Vacation, can't see the line, can you, Russ? That's pretty much the scene I'm talking about on this one. Then we have A Christmas Story. You'll shoot your eye out, kid. You got the department store Santa Claus. Had to include that, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Then we have Jingle All the Way, another Christmas movie. He's in the giant Mall of America in this one, trying to get the ball from the little girl who took it. And, if you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then I'm just rambling on like an idiot. And the last Christmas one is actually a Christmas Wonder Years episode, and it's from season 2. It is just titled Christmas, simply. It's the first Christmas episode in the series. And I included this one because, kind of like Kenny and Company, it was kind of there's a scene in a store that I've always kind of been obsessed with, and I don't know why. I don't know what store it was in, but it's when Kevin and Paul, they're looking for a gift for Winnie. Kevin's looking for a gift for Winnie. He's at the perfume counter smelling all the perfumes. It's some type of department store. It's also the same store, I believe, that Kevin and Wayne see the color TV for the first time, and that's kind of the big storyline of the episode, is that Kevin and Wayne want a color TV for Christmas. They're hoping their dad buys them one. But I just love the store. I don't know what store it is. I would love to know. I don't know how anybody would have that information. But if for some reason you know where the Christmas episode of Wonder Years, what store they filmed in, please let me know. It's been driving me crazy for years. I've done some research, cannot find the answer to the question. And again, I don't know why. It'd be useless information to me, but I just like to find out. All right, guys, now before I move on to the horror stuff, which I know you really want to see, I just also want to say that I'm not ranking these or anything. These aren't in any particular order. These are simply just 25 titles from my collection that have some type of mall or shopping center scene in them. Again, I'm not ranking them. It's not like they're my favorite of all time, even though some of them are. But again, they're in no particular order. So I just wanted to make that clear. So moving on to the horror now, we have Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. Now, this is a really forgotten slasher. I don't know why. This movie does not get enough love. Such a fun movie. A slasher movie in a mall. I mean, who wouldn't like that? Morgan Fairchild's in this one. This one also stars Pauly Shore, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I really like this one. I won't say too much about it because this is probably going to pop up in one of my upcoming videos, in another video. So I'll talk about it a bit more in that video. But if you guys haven't seen this movie, definitely track down a copy. I know the DVD's out of print, kind of hard to get now, kind of expensive. And again, I'll talk about this more in a future video. Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. Next, another department store movie, and this is Hide and Go Shriek. This is a slasher film that takes place in a department store. Again, another kind of forgotten slasher film, doesn't get enough credit, and I've always enjoyed this one. I always loved the cover of this one as well. I remember this cover always standing out to me at the old video rental store when I was growing up, so always enjoyed this one. Next is kind of a movie that nobody ever talks about and really knows about, and that's Dangerous Game. This is actually an Australian film. A lot of similarities to Die Hard in this one, in a way. Basically, a group of teenagers decide to, hack into a security system and break into a department store, and unfortunately, they're not the only ones inside. They realize there's kind of a maniac cop inside that's after them. And, I compare it to Die Hard, not that Die Hard is anything like that, but again, they're in sort of this this building being, you know, kind of killed off one by one by a cop. I mean, in this one, the cop isn't the hero like John McClane, but he's really just a maniacal killer. So definitely worth checking out. You know, for the setting alone, it's any movie that takes place in a big department store. It's very claustrophobic. It's just cool to see like the merchandise and all that while people are getting, you know, blown up and whatnot. So definitely a cool one. Dangerous Game, and you know, how can you not like that cover? Look at that guy. Moving on, we have one of the Monster Vision titles that I've shown before, and that is Pet Shop. You know, the movie actually takes place in the pet shop, but the pet shop is actually in a mall. So just thought I'd include it in here. Next, we have an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it's actually the most memorable episode to me. And again, probably because it took place in a mall. And the episode I'm talking about is the last episode of Season 1, The Tale of the Pinball Wizard. Very cool episode, very cool setting. Love it. Next, we have My Bloody Valentine 3D. Now, you're probably thinking, where's the mall in this one? Well, I'm not talking about a mall in this one. Again, I said shopping centers. I'm talking about the scene in the grocery store. Probably my favorite scene in the movie. You know, the girls being chased through the grocery store by the killer. I don't know. Again, just really sticks out to me. I don't know what my fascination is with grocery stores and malls and department stores, but love seeing them in movies, so included that here. Then we have Stephen King's The Mist. As you know, the majority of this one also takes place inside a store. Great movie, fantastic ending. Love this. Then we have another movie that takes place entirely in a grocery store, and that's Intruder. One of my favorite slasher films of all time. You guys need to check this out if you're a slasher fan and you haven't seen it. Absolutely fantastic. Love this movie. Then we have a movie that I actually mentioned the other day, and that is The Initiation. Slasher movie in a mall. Can't go wrong there. Another one, just absolutely fantastic. Again, if you're a slasher fan, you need to check this one out. Next up, we have Night of the Comet. Basically a zombie apocalypse sort of movie that has a big scene in the mall here. Because, you know, when it's the end of the world, what are you going to do but break into the mall and do a little shopping? So, Night of the Comet. Then we have probably the most famous mall movie of all time, Dawn of the Dead, and the Dawn of the Dead remake. Again, two fantastic zombie apocalypse movies taking place in a mall. I'm sure you've all seen both of these movies, and if you haven't, I'm sure you've at least seen the original, which is considered probably to be the greatest zombie movie of all time in many people's eyes, and also I guess a lot of people would say it's also the best mall movie of all time. So you'd think I would end it here, but I didn't, because for me, the only movie I'm ranking in this entire video is my favorite mall movie of all time. And I'm talking about Chopping Mall. This movie is so awesome. It is just a blast. I love the mall in this movie. I love the movie itself. I love the characters. I love the cheesiness. One of my favorite horror movies. I don't know why to include it in my top 20 list now that I think about it. But definitely one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And my personal favorite mall movie. If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? So that's it, guys. I had to speed up a bit at the end there because the battery on my phone is about to die, and that's what I'm using to film. So sorry about that, but you guys get the idea. So there they are, some of my favorite mall movies or shopping center movies and TV episodes of all time. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Let me know what your favorite of the movies and shows that I've shown. If there's any that I forgot, or any that you like, let me know. I want to know what your favorite mall movie is, or your favorite TV episode that takes place in a mall or shopping center. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'll be back soon with some more videos.